Hey, you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Beast! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available summer 2023, the album, Dad, Shimmy Shimmy, AF. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies, tell me lies. Beast! How are you guys doing today? Let me tell you how I'm doing today, okay? I spent the better part of the morning at the dentist office today getting a deep cleaning, which I have to do quarterly. And while I was getting my deep cleaning done, I was listening to Whitney Houston, The Greatest Hits. I was listening to a little I Will Always Love You, $1 Million Bill, Try It On My Own, I Have Nothing. I was just pulling in my inner diva while she was scraping away at all the plaque on my teeth. And then I came home, and I was sitting out here, and it's such a beautiful day, and I was thinking about going to the pool with my neighbor, and I thought, you know, I can film a video or two, and I can talk about some updates that have been happening with Colleen Ballinger, some things I want to talk about. Trisha Paytas has come out with a new video. Adam Mcintyre made a response to that video. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about Colleen Ballinger and some of her shows getting canceled. And other than the podcast, the Oversharing podcast with Trisha Paytas, which has since been canceled, and all the podcasts are now down off the podcast channel. And I also want to talk about a few of Colleen Ballinger's friends that are still standing by her to this day. They are such good Judies. They are such die-hard friends that they stand by their good Judy through and through. No matter what they do, they stand by them, right? Which I have some things to say because I got several comments on many of my videos where people said, I don't understand why you expect these people to come out and say something. A simple unfollow or, you know, a simple unfollow on Instagram or Twitter should be enough. Well, they still haven't done that. So I want to bring some attention to those fine folk that still stand behind their good Judy Colleen Ballinger and think that nothing that she did was wrong, just like they did with James Charles back in the day. So I want to talk about that. But before we get into that, I do feel the need to start this video off in kind of an educational manner, you know? It's funny because when people in my personal life, they'll say like, so like, what do you do? And I say, oh, I make YouTube videos, you know, and they're like, oh, like educational YouTube videos. Like, what do you do videos about? Like, you know, how to tie a bow tie or, you know, how to water your plants. I'm like, no, I don't do educational videos. But this is an educational video, okay? Or this is the beginning of an educational video for you. So for those of you out there that do not have YouTube channels, but have maybe thought about starting a YouTube channel, when you start a YouTube channel, you get to pick the name of your YouTube channel. Like if you look underneath here, okay, underneath this video, you'll see that it says Peter Monn, right? And that's kind of an exciting moment that you get to pick the channel name. I have many channels. I have 6 channels. I have Peter Likes Books. I have Peter Reviews Stuff. I have Peter Does Stuff. I have Peter Vlogs. And what else do I have? And then I have Peter Monn, this channel over here. So those are some of my channels. And when you come to my channel, what you'll know is that you will get Peter Monn's opinion about something. See, I know that's kind of a surprise to probably many of you. You're probably coming over here thinking that you're hearing Judy Smith's opinion or Sally Jones' opinion. I'm assuming that's what you must think, okay? Because let me tell you, since I have covered the Trisha Paytas situation where she came out against Colleen Ballinger, you know, it was like I couldn't say anything right, or I couldn't say anything wrong, or I missed the mark and whatever. And I just have to say, you know, that like, it was interesting because I got so many comments from people that said, you were really, really harsh in this video about Trisha Paytas, right? And so, you know, then I came out in my next video, if you watch that video, and I explained myself, and I made some corrections in that video. And then I got comments from people that said, you know, you didn't do anything wrong, you weren't harsh on her, you didn't miss the mark. And then I got tagged on Twitter tons of times by people that said, you missed the mark, you didn't hold Trisha Paytas accountable, you weren't hard enough on Trisha Paytas. And then I got other people that said, you were too hard on Trisha Paytas, why were you so hard on Trisha Paytas? So what I've learned is that it doesn't really matter what I say over here, okay? Because no matter what I say, I'm never going to appease the masses, which is why I have always shared my opinion on this channel. This channel is, I've called it a gossip channel, a drama channel, a tea channel, a Kiki channel, a candle review company, have you. But it is really just an opinion channel. It's just my opinion of watching what is going on social media and social commentary, and me just giving a response to what I see. And I am going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to give my opinion, right? The reason why I leave my comment section open on this channel, and I do not delete any of the comments over here, is because I want you guys to have your opinion as well and be able to share it and possibly educate me on things that I don't know. I said this in my last video, and I mean this wholeheartedly. This part is all joking aside, all sarcasm aside, I mean this, okay? One of the things that makes me so happy is that even with people that were upset with me or their opinions didn't align with me, and this is typically on most of my videos where people we don't see eye to eye on maybe what my opinion is or whatever. It's like, it never gets cutthroat, it never gets nasty. People never say things like, F you, Peter, or you shouldn't have this opinion, or why are you saying that, or whatever. It never gets to that point, right? People will just say things like, oh, Peter, like, I don't necessarily see it the same way you do, or whatever, and I want to say I appreciate that. I get a lot of comments on my videos where people feel that this is a safe place to leave comments because they can share their opinion and they know that they're not going to be, you know, raked over the coals for their opinion. That being said, I am going to continue to share my opinion on this channel. That does not mean that you guys have to always agree with it. In fact, if you don't agree with it, please share your opposing opinion in the comment section below. I delight in reading what you guys have to say and, you know, and maybe learning something new or educating myself, you know. I also want to say that from time to time, I will be snarky and sarcastic and shady and make jokes on this channel. I didn't do that for a very long time, and I want to say why. Because when I didn't do that, or when I did do that, when I was sarcastic and snarky and shady, people would say things like, what is wrong with Peter? And he's a person in recovery, and how can he be saying these sarcastic, shady things, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that is a really unfair statement, and that is a really unfair sentiment to hold against me, that because I'm a person in recovery, and because in my personal life I take accountability for my actions, and because in my personal life I make amends to people, and I preach kindness and things like that, right? That I am not allowed, alright, just like as if I were working for ETV, or I was, you know, working on The View, or whatever, okay? That I cannot get in a video on a channel that is my opinion about a public figure and make a sarcastic comment that then the go-to is, well, you aren't practicing kindness like you preach being a person in recovery. That is completely unfair, okay? But if you feel that way, what I will say to you is that this is probably not the channel for you, okay? Because there are going to be times that I'm going to be sarcastic. There are going to be times that I am going to be snarky and shady, all right? And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm going to continue to be that way because for a very long time, I held back and I walked a fine line and I said what I thought people wanted to hear because I thought that that was the safe route and things like that. Listen, I am too old and have had too much life experience to play the safe route. I'm not doing it anymore, okay? I'm not. I'm going to share my opinion. You know, for a long time, when I would just get in videos and I would say, well, this is what's going on, ... and I would just share the facts, people would say, Peter, we come to your channel because we want to hear your opinion. We want to hear your opinion. That's why we come and watch your videos. Peter, why aren't you sharing your opinion? So I start sharing my opinion again, and then people are like, you're shady. Why are you being so shady? Blah, 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 whatever. I'm sharing my opinion about public figures, okay? Let's just be for real, all right? And I'm sorry you're not going to always agree with my opinion. That's okay. I'm not going to always agree with your opinion either. But at least we can have a conversation about it and maybe have some fun, okay? So, that being said, when it comes to Trisha Paytas, I'm just going to share my opinion, right? And I've shared my opinion in 2 videos now about her video about Colleen Ballinger and how I feel about that. If you want to go back and watch those 2 videos, please do. Trisha came out with a new video, and it's called This Is Embarrassing. And her video is her talking about her set for the Oversharing podcast, okay? Now, at a certain point in the video, at the beginning of it, she says she feels really bad for basically alleging, or talking about, alluding to the victims of Colleen Ballinger, right? Which is interesting to me, and I will just, this is just my opinion. Just my opinion. Okay, but it was interesting to me because Trisha Paytas in her last video said she was never going to speak on it again, right? So here she is 2 days later speaking on it again. So that was interesting to me, right? But whatever, it's Trisha's story, it's Trisha's channel. Just like this is my channel, she can talk on whatever she wants to talk about. I will say that I thought it was interesting, and I give her props for the fact that she never once in her video about this is embarrassing, talking about her set, she never once ever said the word or the name Colleen. She never said it, not once. Go watch the video. I've watched it now 3 times, okay? She never once said Colleen's name. She referred to that person. She kind of like stumbled over her words a little bit. And at the beginning of the video, she says she's very nervous to make this video. And I think probably the reason why she was nervous to make this video, I mean, obviously because she said she was embarrassed about, you know, the podcast falling apart and yet another, she refers to it as another failure, and she says, I'm not a failure, and I like this statement actually from Trisha. She said, I'm not a failure, but I've had many failures. I really like that statement, and I think to understand that as a life lesson, you know, that as human beings, we have lots of failures, but we're not a failure. Ultimately, I really liked that sentiment, you know? But so she goes through this whole thing, and she talks about the set, and she talks about how, like, she shows these American girl dolls that she ordered. One was supposed to look like her, one was supposed to look like Colleen. They didn't, neither one of them look like either. To me, I was like, I don't, you know. I will say this, standing back and being objective, okay, the video kind of made me sad, because what you realize in this is that Trisha and Moses built this entire set for this podcast. Trisha bought these chairs for $3,000. Trisha was ordering all the costumes. Trisha was ordering these American Girl dolls and all this kind of stuff. And she was so excited about doing this podcast with somebody that she thought was her friend. The whole time, you have to assume now that Colleen Ballinger was probably making fun of her to her other friends behind her back. And that's a sad, and that's what I think why Trisha had a hard time getting on video and filming this, because she's, you know, she said this is embarrassing, you know. She should not. She has nothing to be embarrassed about, okay? She has nothing to be embarrassed about. And I feel bad for her in that. You know, as a human being to another human being, I feel bad for Trisha. You know, to be such a giving person, and she said, I get excited about friendships, and to get excited about these friendships. And then, you know, and she even says in there, you know, like, maybe I'm not the good friend. Maybe I'm the one that can't be the good friend, you know? I don't know. But she says that in there. And, you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is sad, because, like, in that moment, you can see that Trisha was so excited. I mean, she even, like, goes back and touches, like, the stuff that they have hanging, and she goes, doesn't it look like water? And in that moment, it was like, it kind of reminded me of myself and things that I get so excited about, you know? I can remember the very first time when I started on BookTube, and I did a readathon, and my husband and 2 of my friends that we went out to dinner that night with, you know, that they were going out to hear a DJ downtown, and I felt completely corny that I was so excited to come home and put all of my books that I was reading for the readathon into a Goodreads, and that at midnight when it started, I was going to be right out here on the front porch, you know, with my special drinks that I had bought, my special coffees and iced teas and things, you know, and lemonades, and I was going to read, and I was going to do all the prompts, and I was so excited about it, and I get so excited about things, right? And so I could see that in Trisha, and I could see how excited she was about this, and I felt really bad for her, you know? I think, like, if I were to give any advice to Trisha going forward as far as podcasts, I don't think she needs to do a podcast with anybody. I think Trisha can hold, you know, it's interesting to me, when Trisha made the comment in her last video that Colleen will be fine, that she'll basically insinuating that she'll continue to go on and have a career, okay, which I do not believe is going to be the case with Colleen Ballinger. I think this is so much that has happened to her, and then with the response video with the ukulele, and now shows are being canceled, I think Colleen's done, and I think Colleen knows that. I think Colleen will take a very long time off of the internet. I do believe that at some point she will come out with a response video, a more appropriate one. But I think her career will never be like it was before. I think this is so detrimental to her. But what was interesting to me about that comment was that Trisha Paytas, and I've already addressed her past in my last 2 videos, so I'm not going to do that again, except for to say that she has been able to bounce back and just kind of continue to push through. And I think that's her mentality, right? Because she doesn't really address things, yes, of course, but also because I think she just continues to just come back and like she said, pivot. She uses the word pivot several times and reinvent herself and things like that. I don't know that I think that Trisha Paytas needs to have a co-host in a podcast. I think for her, it's exciting to have somebody that she could sit down with and whatever. I don't know why she doesn't do it with her sister. I don't know why she doesn't do it with Moses, somebody that she trusts implicitly, that she's close with. I don't know why she doesn't do it with her mom, you know? Her mom, I don't know if she still does, but for a long time had a YouTube channel. She could do it with her sister. She could do it with her mom, you know? She could do it by herself. She doesn't have to have some big YouTube co-host to do a podcast. So, you know, for Trisha's sake, I hope she doesn't give up on the podcast because she seems to be very excited about this. Now, Adam Mcintyre came out with a response. I believe that Adam Mcintyre received very similar responses that I did because of the things that I said in my video where I said it was interesting to me that Trisha Paytas didn't really come out until she was personally affected by it, which, right or wrong, I still believe, okay? Because she was deleting comments in her live streams. She and Moses were deleting comments anytime somebody would ask about Adam or Johnny or Oliver or, you know, any of these people and their stories, or Colleen Ballinger. She and Moses were deleting comments. That was way after the allegations and the news articles had come out. Trisha also came out and posted a video saying that they were getting ready to film a video. Adam addresses that in his video, and he's very nice and he's very fair, but I do believe that he has received, just with his response to Trisha, very similar responses that I've received. You know, and Adam and all of these victims still get so much crap, and I'm just like to relive this traumatizing experience for them, and then to get crap from people on top of it. Like, some of the comments that I read, I'm like, do you guys have any kind of empathy or sympathy whatsoever in your souls? Like, that you don't realize how tough this is for these people to relive? And then to want to say that they're doing it for clout, when the majority of these people are doing nothing but sharing their stories on, on Twitter. You know, now maybe some of them are going to be on the H3 podcast. Some of them have been, you know, quoted in articles. Wow, what clout to share in an article your traumatizing experience of being a victim of Colleen Ballinger's. Like, I don't know that that would be the clout that I would want. I think that it is courageous that they are coming out and sharing their stories, and I think that they should be treated as such. So all this crap that they're getting, I think is so uncalled for. So I don't want to compare myself to Adam, but, you know, I know that Adam got a lot of crap when he came out and said that he didn't believe that Trisha spoke until it affected her personally. And then people said, well, you were really too harsh on Trisha and blah, blah, blah. They said the same things to him that they said to me, right? But then people, after they watched Adam's video, came back to my video and said, well, Adam said the same thing as Peter, so it must be true, you know? Yes, and I believe that to be true. I don't believe that Trisha came out and spoke about it until it personally affected her. And Adam, in his response video to her newest video called This Is Embarrassing, he's very nice to her. He's very sympathetic and fair to her, right? About how upsetting it must be for what she went through with Colleen Ballinger. But he says in the video that it's so obvious now because she alluded to a video or a podcast that she and Colleen were going to be filming, okay? That was after the allegations had come out. And she posted that. She said that in a video, right? And so they had filmed and then never posted this alleged podcast, right? This was after news articles and the allegations had come out. So Trisha was fully aware of what the allegations were because she was deleting comments about it. She wasn't speaking about it, right? And so Adam said, I'm not trying to be harsh about this, but the reality is Trisha didn't come out and speak about it until it personally affected her. And he stands by that. And so do I. I really believe that. He further goes on to say, and I thought this was such a great point, he said, you know, Trisha doesn't have to say anything about the victims. Now, I had hoped, okay, as a co-host of Colleen Ballinger, as a supposed friend that she had called her, that she would come out and make a stance in defense of the victims and say that I didn't think that anything that, you know, that Colleen did was right, and she's basically said this in her second video and whatever. But what he says in there is, if it is true that you filmed this video with her after the allegations came out, after the news stories came out, and you were fully aware of all of this stuff, then you really didn't come out and speak about it until after it affected you personally. And if that's the case, then just talk about your own personal experience with it. You don't have to come out then and say, I feel so bad for these victims, right? Which, like a lot of people keep on saying, two things can be true at the same time. Maybe she does feel bad about the victims. Maybe she also, you know, feels horrible about what happened to her personally, which I can understand. But she can share her own experience about this and not have to act like she cares so much about the victims because she didn't speak about them until she knew that it had personally affected her, right? Which is also interesting to me because Trisha came out in her first video and she said something to the effect of that she didn't know whether or not to believe these allegations until she had factual evidence of it. And a lot of people were like, well, wouldn't you wait? Didn't Trisha, and I could be wrong, but didn't she say somewhere in her past, believe all victims and all their stories? Like, I thought Trisha said that, right? So I'm confused as to why it's believe all victims and their stories until it affects you personally, and then you have to have evidence. That confuses me. So anyway, so that was what Adam had to say in his video, and he was very fair to Trisha, and I think this is one of those situations where I see a lot of comments on even Trisha's video where people will say, I'm not a fan of you, Trisha, but I feel really bad for what you're going through, And this is a situation where I do want to clarify this because I did bring up her past and things like that, right? Like, Trisha has a lot that she needs to make right in her own life, okay? She has a lot of things, and I think that she's trying to do that. And in my last video, I said a really great time for her to come out and address everything would be right now because people are listening to her. People are wanting her to be a changed person and show growth. If she came out now and she did this video where she just took responsibility for everything, people would eat it up. They would live it. They would live for it, right? And so I think this would be a great time for her to do that. But, the thing is, take away all the stuff that happened with Trisha's past and every problematic thing that Trisha Paytas has ever done, which is really hard in looking at the grand scheme of Trisha Paytas, who she is, right? Okay, but take away all of that, and then this situation that happened to Trisha with Colleen is horrible, and I feel bad for her, I really feel bad for her. And watching this video called This Is Embarrassing almost made me more sad than the first video, because you could see how much Trisha was like, especially with, and like I saw somebody comment and say, like, this is weird, an adult woman buying another woman a doll. It wasn't about that, okay? It was about her excitement of dressing these dolls up to look like they were, like, matching twin copies of each other, right? She's so excited about this whole podcast that she was doing with Colleen, right? And then to have it, like, just really screw her, because of all the allegations. And she says in the video at the very beginning, like, I've never wanted anything to be over so quick in my life, right? And I'm sure she does. I don't personally believe, a lot of people are like, oh, she's going to ride the coattails of all this kind of stuff and whatever. I believe the purpose of this video was to just make it clear that she was done with the podcast, number one. Number two, to kind of explain what she was going to do with that channel going forward. That was kind of her MO for this video. And also, to sell her stuff on Poshmark, because she says she's going to sell her stuff on Poshmark, which was interesting because a lot of people were like, why don't you donate that stuff? Why don't you donate those dolls to a children's hospital? Why don't you donate the chairs and on and on and on? Which she could do, right? She's already probably made the write-offs from that. So she could do that. I think that would be a nice thing for her to do. But anyway, she's selling all this stuff on Poshmark, and so that was another thing. I don't think the reason for her to do this other video was to bring up this topic again and things like that. I could be wrong. I do not believe that Trisha is going to, and y'all don't come for me and say I'm giving Trisha a free pass, okay? I am telling you what I see going forward with Trisha based on having watched Trisha for 6.5 years, okay? I do not believe that she is going to ride what people are calling the gravy train of Colleen Ballinger. I don't believe she's going to make umpteen videos about this. I just don't. I don't think she will, okay? I think she said her piece. She didn't even say Colleen's name in this video. I think she just wanted to explain these things and explain what she was going to do with this next podcast. I don't think she'll do a bunch of that. I really do think she should think about doing a podcast with her mom or her sister or both of them. I think people would love that. The people that love Trisha Paytas would love that podcast where she's sitting down with her mom and her sister and they're talking about things, like family things, and they're talking about, public controversies and whatever, and talking about it as sisters and a mom. Like, people would love that, because what do you do with your family? You talk about all this kind of stuff, So that was the next thing that I wanted to talk about. The next thing, then the next thing was, I was sent this article by several people, by ABC or NBC News, NBC News, and it says YouTuber Colleen Ballinger has several live shows and podcasts canceled. And in here, they reference the Oversharing podcast with Trisha Paytas, and they talk about how Trisha came out in the video and said that it was canceled and blah, blah, blah. Several of YouTuber Colleen Ballinger's upcoming live shows appear to have been canceled amid ongoing backlash over her alleged relationships with underage fans. And then it goes underneath here, and it lists the shows that were canceled, and representatives for Ballinger did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And then it goes on to say, that the Linsick Performing Arts Center in Santa Fe, New Mexico, told NBC News that Ballinger's upcoming show at the venue was canceled. The Carolina Theater in Durham, North Carolina, removed the Miranda Sings show scheduled for September 8th from its event calendar. Neither one of them really gave a statement as to why. And then the Hollywood Performing Arts Center in Omaha, Nebraska, removed it. And the Sheldon in St. Louis, Missouri, announced last week that Ballinger's tour stop was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. So a lot of her shows are being canceled. It says in here that she only had 12 shows. I think she's done like 2 or 3 now. So 2 or 3 plus 4 is 7. I mean, she's got like maybe 4 or 5 left. It will be interesting to me to see if in the midst of all this she continues. If it were me and I was in Colleen Ballinger's shoes, I would cancel the tour. I don't know why she hasn't canceled the tour. To come out with that ukulele response video that was so diminishing and demeaning of the victim's stories, and then to continue to go on tour, to line your pockets with money, and in that show make jokes, because she has a joke in her show of how to address being canceled and how to make an apology. I mean, that is, like, it's so unbelievable to me. And the one thing I will say that Trisha said in her video, and I don't know how she said it, and I'm just paraphrasing the thoughts, okay, is that she said something in the middle of the video about how she still cannot kind of wrap her head around like everything that's happened and what's going on with it. And I think that's a perfect response to this whole situation with Colleen Ballinger, because I have to believe that the majority of us are like completely baffled that this is going on, like that this is happening and that there's really been no appropriate response. We now know that she's hired this you know, huge attorney that has defended like all of these people, you know, Prince Andrew and all these people, and that they've made very few responses, and the only things that they have responded to are things that they have absolute fact about, you know. There was allegations that she was in a show with blackface, and it turned out that it was allegedly green paint from when she was doing a skit from Wicked. And so her attorney came out and spoke about that. Well, he comes out and speaks about that, but he doesn't come out and speak about any of the allegations. Why? Because he can't. Because there's no truth that he can prove to that, is what people are saying, you know. Then it's interesting because people have brought to my attention, they said, I don't know why you guys expect people to come out and speak against the person that they did collabs with or they're friends with and whatever, okay? I'm not going to go in and speak about that again. I've spoken about that in I don't know how many videos at this point. For me, as a viewer of these people, as somebody that has bought their products, as somebody that has endorsed them and endorsed their products, and somebody that has watched their videos for years, followed them, and helped them get sponsorships, I no longer can continue to support them if I know that they align with a predator, okay? Period, end of story. If they don't come out and say something to the contrary of that, then I don't know otherwise. That's why I feel like they need to come out and speak, okay? A lot of people brought it to my attention and said, well, don't you think that a simple unfollow off of Instagram or Twitter is enough? Okay, fine. I will grant you that. Okay, I still personally want to see these people come out and speak. Manny MUA had no problem getting in a podcast and talking about it and getting all of his information wrong, all right? So he should have no problem coming out and correcting his wrong information and also explaining why he's still aligned with Colleen Ballinger and follows her on social media. Okay? So that's to Manny. Joey Graceffa, it's crickets over there. But he has built his entire career off of Colleen Ballinger, so I don't know why he can't come out and say something. But they both still follow her on Instagram. So for those of you out there that want to say, well, can't they just simply unfollow her and that's enough? I'm still waiting for many of Colleen Ballinger's friends, okay, and people that she has collabed with to unfollow her and give us that message. Until then, I have to assume, because they haven't spoken out otherwise, that they continue to align themselves with a predator. And some of these people are the same people that continue to align themselves with James Charles. So, you do with that what you want to do with that. But for me, I cannot continue to follow those people. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.